And that's the joke between the two of them. He's like, I got to go see my girlfriend. Because that's what he's passionate about. That's what drives him. That's what makes him happy on the inside. That's what makes him feel good. Hey everybody, this is Gregory Paul Kotsaftis of the Pitching the Truth podcast. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Hello and welcome everybody to the Pitching the Truth podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Greg Kotsaftis, and this week I will try to be not saying "and" with those filler words. You know, I'm a Toastmaster. I need to get that out of the way. But this week I want to share with you a concept that came to me while listening to Joe Rogan's podcast and an interview he had with Gabby Reese, the world professional volleyball player. And she had some great insights, and I'm not going to take credit for it, but I think it's an interesting concept about what's really important for men and women in order to be happy in life and to stay interested in other things besides their work, their job, their career, I guess those are all the same thing, right? Their spouse, their children, just the mundane stuff each and every day. I think it's important that you have some other interests, you do some other things. So Gabby Reese had some interesting concepts, and she was talking about her husband, Laird, and she was describing the fact that he has a girlfriend. And of course, it's not what you think out there in podcast world. He doesn't have an actual girlfriend. She's like, yeah, he's got a girlfriend. If he doesn't see his girlfriend, he gets really pissed. He gets really irritable because, she goes, but you know what's great? When he comes back from seeing his girlfriend, he's just happy and relaxed, and he welcomes our daughters, and he's just in a really good mood. Now, I know all of you are out there kind of thinking like, boy, that's kind of creepy, right? It's kind of weird. Does the dude have a girlfriend? Has he got a little side hustle? What's he got going on? But what she was talking about was surfing. Surfing is his girlfriend. And that's the joke between the two of them. He's like, I got to go see my girlfriend because he has to be on the water 4 to 5 hours. That's what he'd prefer to be every single day because that's what he's passionate about. That's what drives him. That's what makes him happy on the inside. That's what makes him feel good. So this is something that I could kind of relate to because I think it's really important. For years, I never had something like that. I never had something that I went to and made me feel really good about myself. Made me feel like I was doing something for me that had nothing to do with anybody else. Didn't have anything to do with my family, my wife, my parents, my job, my career. It didn't have anything to do with anything of that sort. I wasn't out there trying to impress anybody by what I was doing. I was just trying to be me. And I think a lot of people don't really get that. They don't understand that. Dealing with aging parents, and I think it's really interesting because my father in particular doesn't have anything like that. He used to have it for a while. He had a good group of friends. He used to play a lot of golf. He used to do a lot of different things. He used to play tennis. And now he's not physically able to do those things anymore. Some of his friends have passed away. They're all getting older. And he doesn't really have a set purpose or direction. He doesn't have a girlfriend anymore. I've seen him get kind of lost. So I'm paying attention. Okay, I'm paying attention. I'm 53 years old. And it's taken me this long to really realize the important aspects of having something that you're doing on the side, something that's going to make you feel good and feel happy. And I think a lot of people, men and women, get lost in the trap of just doing the same mundane thing every day over and over and over again. So for me, okay, my girlfriend is jiu-jitsu. I am a purple belt jiu-jitsu. It took me a long time to get my purple belt. It's about 6 years it took me to get to that point. Then I took a hiatus from jiu-jitsu for almost 4 years. And now I just recently started back about 6 months ago, and I've become totally obsessed with my girlfriend. I go to see her 4 to 5 times a week because if I don't get to train at least 4 days a week and see the group of people, men and women, that I train with and share that camaraderie and share the skill and the challenge of trying to learn something it's technically very physically and mentally difficult, I get irritable. I get cranky. But like our friend Laird, when I come back from training in jiu-jitsu, I always feel the same way. Clear-headed, focused, happy, just wrung out, just physically challenged, mentally challenged, happy about the fact that all the people I'm around are smiling and they're happy too because they all enjoy the same thing I do. And it makes me feel wonderful. My girlfriend fulfills me. Now, I'm engaged and I shared this story with my soon-to-be wife, Julie. she kind of laughed at first, right? And then she sat there and we were talking. I could see she was thinking. And she's like, you know what? I need a boyfriend. I'm like, yeah, you sure as hell do. Everybody needs a boyfriend. Everybody needs a girlfriend. Everybody needs something that they're passionate about. Resonated with her quickly. That's why I wanted to share it on today's podcast, because I think it will resonate with all of you. If you don't have something that really, truly interests you and makes you happy and brings you joy outside of work, outside of family, outside of, I don't know, the mundane things you do every day, outside of your car, outside of the amount of money you have in your bank account, outside of, the nice clothes you have, if you don't have something that's driving you and making you feel really fulfilled, my friends, you're destined to eventually be unhappy. I truly believe that. I think if you do not have something going on that's going to make you feel energized and fulfilled and happy, that eventually you're going to wake up one day, you're going to be really old, you're going to be looking around. Most people will either be gone or not somewhere else or doing something else, and you're going to feel like crap. As a counter example to my father, who, right now I feel bad for him, but at the same time, unfortunately, this is the choice he made. So today, I'll give you another inside story in my life. I had to go to traffic school today. I had to go to, I'm looking behind me at the folder, Attitude Dynamics of Driving. I had a speeding ticket in 1989 in Massachusetts. 1989, folks. Long, long time ago. I went to renew my license in Colorado and they told me, hey, pal, you can't renew your license. You've got an outstanding ticket in Massachusetts. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. I call Massachusetts. Like, well, yes, you do have a ticket, but you've paid it. I'm like, great, let me reinstate my license. They're like, well, no, you can't because you didn't have a court appearance. I'm like, why do I have to appear in court if I paid the ticket? Because of the timing of it. But since you're out of state, you just have to pay this reinstatement fee. That was $120. Then I'm like, great, let me get my license. They're like, well, no, you can't. I need a copy of your driving record from Colorado to show that you haven't had an offense in the last, I think it was year. And then we need a copy of court documents from Quincy, Massachusetts for the dismissed hearing for the same ticket. So I got all that together, which cost me a little time and money. And I said, okay, give me my license. And they said, no, you can't have your license yet. You have to take this attitudinal driving course, which is a federal course. It's regulated in all 50 states. It's a 6-hour, cannot take it online. You have to go in person course and sit there. And once you're done with that course, you mail that in to us or fax it in because they don't take email. I'm sorry. This is Massachusetts, friends. They like fax machines, old school. Or you can mail an original copy and then we'll let you reinstate your license. So I had to go take this class and I really didn't want to take it because I was like, man, this is going to be a waste of my time. A whole Saturday, beautiful Saturday. Weather was great. Show up there, got all these nasty, like, don't be late. It's a former state trooper in Colorado. So I go down there at the Colorado State Patrol to sit in this class. And this is an old guy. He's in there. He's 62. He told us how old he is, 62. And he's a retired state trooper, retired in 2008. So we go through this whole class, and it's monotonous. It's boring. It's mundane. But I'm of the mindset that you're always going to learn something. So I quickly said, Greg, you're going to learn something today. I know it's not what you want to do, but make the most of it because you have to make the most of every opportunity, folks. You can't sit back and pretend that it's not going to be what you want it to be because you have to get something out of it. So here I go. I sit in class. There's 15 of us in there. Probably, I wasn't the oldest one there, but I was pretty close. A bunch of young kids in there going, 120 miles an hour in a 50 mile an hour zone. Young guys, bunch of young guys in there. And he's talking, going through the whole deal. All right, so here's my point. So this guy shares some pretty good stories that are relatable to his career as a state police officer and stuff like that. And it was kind of interesting. But at one of the breaks, I went up and chatted with him and I said, hey, my daughter's turning 16 tomorrow, which she is, actually Monday. And, does she have to take this kind of class? I think it'd be valuable. And he's like, well, no, she took something that's a little more watered down than this one. But she did have to take a class. I think it's drive safe before 2025 and arrive alive at 25. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, she took the course and we talked, and quickly I said, well, yeah, that's great. And he, during the day, he'd mentioned all these different things he'd done, and he's obviously running this class and giving back to community. So as we're sitting there talking, he shares with me that, he got in a motorcycle accident and almost lost his leg. He shares me because he was up stretching and I have a bad knee. So we were both stretching, talking. And then he's like, oh yeah, when I can still fly my plane. And I'm like, really? And he's like, well, I don't have a plane anymore. He goes, but I got my pilot's license when I was 15. And then after that, he's like, I soloed when I was 16. He's like, I soloed a plane before I got my driver's license. And he goes, it never left me. I love flying. I've flown my whole life. He goes, I don't own a plane anymore. I finally sold it about 10 years ago because the upkeep was too much money. He goes, but I'll go lease a plane and go flying every once in a while just to get up there and experience it and feel it again. So that's one thing, right? Here's a guy that maybe that's his girlfriend. Maybe flying was his girlfriend. I got a really good suspicion it was because he talked to me about a lot of different airports in Colorado, and he's thought about flying back to Boston because that's where he has relatives. He goes, but the airspace is so jammed up, he's kind of doesn't really feel like it'd be enjoyable. Whereas now he can shoot down to Arizona where his relatives live, or California, and he's like, it's easy, it's quick, it's safe, it's not as risky, not as much traffic, more open space, I guess. So he talked about that, and I thought that was fascinating. And then he also shared the story at the very end of the class. He shared the story as to why he does what he does, why he teaches this course. And he's been teaching it since 98. He's been teaching it a long time, folks. What are we talking there, 20 years? He shared with me that his nephew shared with the whole class, had died in a car accident because a school bus had run a stop sign or run an intersection and slammed into a car that contained his nephew and 4 of his friends that were all driving back from high school. So it was a pretty gut-wrenching story, especially when he described that his nephew hung on for 5 years after his body was completely destroyed until he eventually passed away. And all the people that came, and his sister, he had taught his nephew twice in this defensive driving class because his nephew had been a little bit of a troublemaker and gotten some trouble driving, speeding one time in a DUI. So he taught him twice in this class, and then, of course, this happened to him, and his nephew passed away. And once he retired from the state police, they said, you can't teach the class anymore because you're no longer a state trooper. And I think it was his sister, got really upset and said, I can't believe that you're not going to teach this course anymore. You have to do it for my son. You have to continue to help people. I really think this is your calling. And again, that to me resonated again with a little bit of a girlfriend aspect, that this is what he was meant to do. This is what made him happy. And, he said, I don't need to be here. I have no reason to be here. He goes, but I'll tell you what, every time I come here, I get something from you people. You give me something. I teach you something and you give me something back. And I think that's worthwhile, and that's why I do it. So I thought that, again, was powerful. So all of you out there, boys and girls, men and women, you need to decide what it is that you want your girlfriend or boyfriend to be. You need to find your purpose. You need to figure out what it is that makes you happy. It can be the smallest thing. It can be volunteering like I do at Project Angel Heart. It could be flying a plane. It could be traveling the world. I don't know what it is, okay? But it's out there. It's out there somewhere. There's something there just for you. And I think it's really important that you figure out what that thing is. For me, like I said, it's jiu-jitsu right now. I'm sure that'll change. It's not going to be that way for the rest of my life. But for now, every time I go, I feel nothing but joy when I'm done. And I think everybody out there can understand what I'm saying. They just may have found it, maybe if they haven't. But if you have found it, pay attention to it and be grateful and thankful for it. And if you haven't found it, go out there and find it right away. That's all I got for today. Thank you so much for listening. I greatly appreciate all of you. And until next time, we'll talk soon.